कैवल्य क्लीं कैवल्य
Namaste and welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam for another Kaivalya Marga class, the special series that under divine guidance and with divine permission we have launched during these 9 days of Navaratri. Let's begin this satsang, this session with 3 Oms. Offering my pranams at the feet of my beloved Sadguru. I'm here to offer some perspectives and share how I experienced the 5th chakra, the 4th chakra, the Anahata chakra. It's day 5 today, Navaratri, and we are celebrating the Shakti principle in the heart chakra, known as the Anahata chakra. Anahata chakra. Anahata means unstruck sound. A sound that doesn't have a visible origin which the senses can relate to. In other words, it's a sound that comes and I can't hear it, and yet I can hear the sound. Right? Think of what does that even mean, correct? So think of this. Somebody is telling you, oh, everything is fine. No, nothing has happened between us. Everything is fine. But you're hearing, I'm very hurt. I don't know how we are going to resolve this. I'm very hurt about what happened. Correct? So they are saying something, but you're hearing something else. In other words, a person can mean something else and say something else. Correct? I can say, oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. But I could be thinking, oh, thank God this happened to you. I'm sorry. But I'm just thinking of these kind of excuses. The point here is, or examples, the point here is, Anahata is a sound you hear, but it's not spoken directly. So another example. Someone's actions speak louder than words. A beautiful example is Krishna had butter smeared on his lips. The Lord Krishna, the avatar Krishna, in his childhood, as the story goes. And his mother would say, did you steal butter? And he would say, no, I haven't had food the whole day. I don't even know where butter is. And yet there will be butter all around his lips, right? So what would the mother hear? The mother knows that the child has stolen the butter and had a sumptuous meal out of the butter, I guess. So the point is, Anahata is like that. So Anahata, you can understand as deep emotions, even before giving rise to thoughts, and energy that you intuitively perceive, begin to perceive. So intuition begins at this, and then gets fine-tuned here and so on. Intuition begins here. This is where you begin to perceive sounds, you begin to hear things which the senses cannot give. It's Anahata, a secretive sound. The source of the sound is not very evident directly, but yet it is far more louder than the evident ones. So that is the meaning of this chakra. And therefore, popularly, this chakra these days, and they are not wrong, just because they're popular doesn't mean they're wrong. They are popularly identified with emotions, because it connects to the heart. So there is an element of truth to that. But more than emotion, what is most powerful here is devotion. This chakra is known for devotion. If you were to ask me, and this connects to the class, I think yesterday or day before I said, don't understand progression in chakra as linear. That first Mooladhara has to be open, Swadhisthana has to. All this is a matter of grace. And so if you take that and you ask me, so give me one chakra that I can start with, the safest chakra to start with, or what is the best I can, because I only know devotion, and I also want to bring chakra meditation, then the heart chakra is the best. The heart chakra has the magic to activate the chakras below because of divine grace. Because of divine grace. It is only grace. It's not something you and I can do. But how is that divine grace incurred? Because of devotion. Devotion is the Anahata. Devotion is the sound. In other words, devotion doesn't mean singing, right? That is sound I'm creating. I'm singing bhajans, I'm chanting mantras, I'm doing pujas. All these actions are all sound externally, what the senses can perceive. What can the senses not perceive? How does it become Anahata in your devotion? Your bhava. Bhava means the attitude, the devotion behind the acts. So the devotion behind the act is the energy that is released in this chakra. So the cleansing of this chakra is understood by when the devotion becomes uninterrupted. When it's very easy to focus your mind and lose yourself. There is no I and me in that consciousness of the divine. When you go to the altar and you're still thinking about I and my problems, when are you going to give darshan to me? Why are you ignoring me? And why, God, are you testing me? And all of that, the Anahata chakra is not cleansed. It is vibrating. That is why you're even talking to this God principle in you. Okay? But it is not cleansed. Why? Because the I is still there. It is a confusion between Anahata and Manipuraka. Manipura is that the I is there. And that I begins to blossom into the bigger I. And that confusion is what keeps dragging you back to, oh, me, I, me, mine, I'm not progressing and nothing is happening to me, or I'm progressing in spirituality, I'm not rich, I'm poor, I'm ill, I'm sick. The I in me becoming too much of that is the lack of cleansing of this chakra. So the concept of surrender in devotion becomes very important here. Because when you surrender the I to the Almighty, then you surrender all your problems as well. Everything. Sundar, surrenders means Sundar, all his ideas of spiritual progress and past karmas, future karmas, whatever is bothering me right now, I'm surrendering everything. All I want to do now is to simply merge into the meditation of the form of my choice or the mantra of my choice. And just go there. In Hindi, they say, leen ho jao. Become one with this laya. Laya is that. This is where the laya really begins to, the kundalini, the laya of the kunda becomes very beautiful. That's why I said, efforts come in with the first two chakras and Brahma Granthi. After that, it's grace, and the path is very beautiful. So, bhakti is the most powerful. I don't call bhakti as an emotion. That's why I said emotions are okay. That is more new age understanding. But the heart chakra relates to bhakti. That's all. The way I've understood. Bhakti opens the heart chakra, and when the heart chakra begins to open, because of divine grace, all the other energies begin to move up. Manipuraka chakra also begins to open up and connect to the heart chakra. There's a important connection between Manipuraka and heart chakra. They are just like Muladhara and Swadhisthana are combined together, even though there is a distance between the navel and the heart. There is a connection, and I'll come to that in a bit. Not explain what it is, but in our meditation we have to understand that connection. Okay? So devotion becomes a very important role. In fact, it is the key to open the heart chakra. I have not known of any other way that this heart chakra can open. Okay? So I cannot tell you any techniques or methods other than only devotion and nothing else. There is yearning in devotion, but the yearning has to be devoid of the I. You figure it out how. I can't get into that explanation at this point. We don't have time. You figure out how can I yearn for God without the I in me. Yearning is not about the I at all. Yearning is bhakti, but bhakti doesn't have the I. It doesn't have the I. Bhakti is full of gratitude and love and surrender. I've learned it the hard way, and that's why I'm trying to help you, so that you don't have to go and reinvent the wheel and go through the same thing I went through and delayed or complicated my progress. It is not about the I in me at all. It's not about Sundar at all. From this chakra onwards, it is not about Sundar at all. Sundar has to merge into the deity of his choice. And that's where grace begins to operate. So if you read, when I, as a yoga practitioner, as a student of yoga, read stories of Mirabai, I read stories of Tyagaraja, who began to sing, and all of the others, Tukaram, Sakubhai, and all of them, right? Mirabai, all of them, all devotees, all the Alvars, all the Nayanars. If I read the stories of all of them, the experiences, they didn't know, when I'm talking of pure devotion, they took the pure path of devotion, right? They didn't know about these chakras or anything. But I understand that when the chakra opens, then that deity of their choice comes alive, and then everything else is taken care of. So, this is the center, a temple, where it is right in the center here, where these two join, right in the center, the sternum, right there, right behind. Again, same, just like the belly button, say straight up. So heart is here, don't confuse. This is heart. This is just a reference point. We call it heart chakra just as a reference. Anahata, the word Anahata doesn't have Hridaya in it, right? Anahata is right here in the center. So above the Manipuraka, about an inch inside, between the spinal cord and the thoracic cage, right in between, this nadi is going up, right in the center of your body. It's not on the spine, it's not in the front of the body, it's right in the center, middle. Okay, right from the Mooladhara, it connects to the Sahasrara, right in the center, right here. Right here. If you take the center, this soft part, when the baby is born, they protect this part because it's very soft. That is the gate. That is the gate. So you drop a thread from there with a weight at bottom, and if it goes straight down, it will go into the Mooladhara. That is how you measure this and understand this. You will begin to experience that, and if it's required, these are all not requirements to experience these things. If it happens, it happens, correct? But the heart chakra is located here. The heart chakra is Anahata. Anahata is devotion, because devotion cannot be seen. You cannot see my devotion. You can only feel it. I can portray great things. I can have a beautiful altar. I can do magnificent pujas, all of that. But it could be devoid of devotion. That's what we call energy. We say powerful satsang and energy in the satsang, and all of that is what we are feeling each other's devotion. And for that, time and space really doesn't matter. So that devotion is Anahata. Always understand Anahata chakra can be opened, will be opened, whether you know it or not. It will be opened with devotion. So we covered the meaning and the location. So now I will tell you how I experienced the Anahata chakra. There was a time when I was reading Lalita Sahasranama every day, the 1008 names. I wasn't initiated into Sri Vidya worship or anything. That happened only maybe 7-8 years ago now. Formally initiated. But I wasn't initiated in anything. I was drawn into Lalita Sahasranama. I met a teacher in Puttaparthi who told me to start it, and I started it. That's all. As simple as that. I just felt drawn to it right from day one. I felt very, very much at home with Lalita Sahasranama. Like I said, it could be because I was raised in the Shiva family, so everything around Shiva, I just feel completely at home. That can never go away from me. Okay. So, I started chanting Lalita Sahasranama day in and day out, just like that, as practice. And I was practicing my yoga and everything. I could never experience this chakra opening or heart chakra. I didn't know what it was. What is the meaning of the heart chakra? Because I knew I could understand Nauli practice, I could do yoga practices, I could feel the energy from the stomach, I could feel the energy and vitality in my body. I used it for gymnastics and sports and intense yoga practices. I could feel that energy coming from my stomach, which is very easy for me. In other words, Murugan is very alive for me. From very easily, he came alive. But it's other than that, the devotion part of it, I was devoted to my Sadguru, Bhagavan Baba, and all of that. For me, the thing is, when I talk about these deities, you might ask, why not Bhagavan Baba? Why not Sai Baba? Why not your Guru? For me, there was such a human relation with him that when I close my eyes, I see him as talking to me and laughing with me or angry with me. And I think of the day-to-day interactions with him, and that was a distraction for me. I know it sounds odd, but that was the truth. So I cannot even to this day use him as a god and put him up in the altar or do formal worship to him. That is a tremendous amount of love and affection that comes because of that relationship we had. Okay, he is still my Sadguru. He will always be my Sadguru, and before everything I bow to him and say, you are everything, all of this. But for me, it's easy to focus on deities and figures, because I can deal with them as abstract energies in this form, and even to the extent that they come alive to me. So that is one part. So I could never bring in Swami. So though I had love and devotion for Swami, I could not understand this heart chakra aspect. And so there was one afternoon, I remember, I had gone, I think it was around this time, because Navaratri times I would go into intense sadhana, fast. I'm not fasting these 9 days as I speak, but I would go into intense fasting, intense meditation, and because I knew that these were 9 days, very holy days. Otherwise, Baba would not have organized the yagna and so on, right? And so I distinctly remember one afternoon I was up in the hills. It was an afternoon. I went and spent the whole day. It was very, very hot. I went into the rocks and underneath some rocks and went to sleep after some time, just so tired that I'm not able to experience this. And I was fast asleep. And then the experience was in my sleep, I thought, but it was actually happening as well, because when I woke up, the experience was profound. As I dreamt a blue hand, and this was Krishna's hand. Out of the blue, he is not even the God that I think of. Okay, I recognized the hand as Krishna's hand. So it was blue, just only the hand, came from behind, right in between. That's why I'm so clear about the spot. Right from between it came, the hand came, and the hand just went into the chest, right here, into the chest. And I don't know what happened. The hand just merged into the chest. I woke up and the whole place was throbbing alive, and I easily went into meditation. And as I went into meditation, I had the darshan of Devi. So I'll keep that very short because that's my experience, right? But that's what happened. And after that, I never had to look back, because then after that, the experience was very easy. Even to this day, I can, with great gratitude, I say this, that I can close my eyes and easily go into that spot where it's like a sanctum sanctorum. It's like a temple, in a mystical manner, if you will. And Devi comes alive. In other words, I feel her presence so much. It doesn't mean I get a darshan very often, but it is just that I feel the presence so alive. It's so captivating that I get lost into it completely. And I'm very happy just being in that presence. There is there are times when there is no thoughts. Anyway, so my point here, instead of me going on and on about that, is that devotion really helps, prayers help. And that came after a year, 2 years, I don't know how long of practice and so on. It just happened. So I'm so very grateful to that beautiful experience, which again, this is many layers of opening. Okay, so that was just the first block, I guess, was removed. There was a block that was removed, and I could feel the heart opening. And then emotions just flows so easily. The devotion, I don't have to worry about devotion at all. In the sense of, I think I'm not expressing these things correctly, so I'll leave it at that. It just feels that it's easy for me to tune into my Swami, my Sadguru, without any questioning in my mind. The idea of questioning and doubts and all of that is so far out now, I don't even remember whether it doesn't matter now, it don't exist. So too with all these deities and all of that. There are no questions, there are no doubts, there's nothing. There is just joy that begins to happen, spontaneous joy that begins to happen. It's an exhilaration, and it can be triggered at any point, almost effortlessly. And I attribute that to divine grace. I can kill that also with lack of sadhana. And I can completely kill all this, what I'm talking about, and go back to being not experiencing any of this, not able to meditate, if I lose my spiritual practice and sadhana and the lifestyle. Okay, so I'm very clear about this. I've gone up and down. After leaving Puttaparthi, I spent 15 years in the out world, so we went up and down, and I've experienced everything that life offers for me to see what is in it, because I like to have first-hand experience. And I understood and I studied how my sadhana levels went up and down and so on and so forth. Now, after Baba passed away in 2011, it is just on the rise, and there's no looking back now, I know for sure. But the point is that if you don't keep up your spiritual practice, then all the other experiences will tend to come and excite you. And then if you don't maintain that, then they just go back to their dormant state. They don't die. You go back to a dormant state. Again, if not in this life, next life you'll again revive it. That's all it is. So the deity for me was Bala Tripura Sundari. At that time, I did not understand, when I got that darshan, that it was Bala Tripura Sundari. Why do I use such a complicated tongue-twisting name? I did not understand that impact of what I saw was actually a symbolic representation of the energy that was actually manifesting inside, connecting with the Manipuraka. And so, how was she sitting? She's glowing, okay? That beauty is indescribable. I don't want to even attempt going there. It just makes me emotional and all of that. So she was seated on a lion, and her left foot is down. A left foot was down on a pot. That pot was in the Manipuraka Chakra. Now, if you read the meditation sloka, and if you understand, and we'll study this, we will study this meditation sloka of who this Devi is. How do you meditate upon this divine Shakti, right? So the meditation, and I used to chant that, knowing that meaning. So it probably manifested, okay? So the meaning is Arunam Karunam. In other words, she is red as the rising sun. She is very beautiful and glowing like the rising sun. Okay, and her foot is red because of the rubies underneath her feet. A pot of rubies kept under her feet. Roughly, I'm just giving a rough idea. This was a kind of meditation I would meditate upon. So, of course, the poet says, are the pot of rubies, have they become red because of her feet being red, or is it her feet is red shining because of the pot of rubies? Anyway, so like that beautifully they describe, and so it gave me, I used to meditate on that. But I was not aware of the left and right and all that. So I'll explain the concept of left and right leg later on as we understand this more from another chakra point of view. But her foot going down and resting on the pot there was connecting the Manipuraka to the heart chakra. That's when this little eye began suddenly the idea of surrender clicked, that I'm not losing myself, I'm not going to get lost or something. I become more that the little eye gives way to the bigger eye. So when the snake is dropping off his skin, he's not going to cry, oh, my skin is getting dropped off. I lived in it for the last, I don't know how often do they drop off a skin and grow a new one. But then the old skin drops off because a new one comes and the snake begins to grow, correct? It was that, the time to enjoy that, the beauty of that happened. To me, that connection was very important. So she's seated in Virasana, half lotus or Virasana, and she puts her left foot down and resting on the pot of rubies. Rubies, jewels, jewel city, Manipura. So imagine, see the connection there. So she put her foot literally, as I understood, as I experienced, was on top of me, the I in me. And so the I merged into her and began to understand that beauty in the eye, the dormant Shakti in the eye became more and more evident to me in that particular experience, where I was locked in that experience for a long time. I couldn't go for darshan that evening. I just stayed there for a very long time, just lost in that amazing experience and the joy and exhilaration that I finally got it and understood what this chakra was all about. I hate to just call it chakra. It just seems like such a tiny, some little thing vibrating inside your body. It's not like that. It's a divine temple that opens. Your whole consciousness explodes and in these experiences. Anyway, so she was seated in Virasana and her foot was on a pot of rubies. The mantra, I didn't chant any mantra at that time. The mantra that I chant now after being initiated, we will learn this at some point at an appropriate time. My guru who initiated me said I should teach it, but not yet. He said he'll tell me. He is a chief priest in a very, very old Kamakshi temple in the south. And he specifically forbade me to mention his name. I said, can I mention your name? So many people will benefit. He said, no, I don't do this for anybody. Anyway, the point here is, he said he will let me know. But this is the mantra later, as I was initiated, so many years later, this guru, when he initiated, he said, if you want to understand the Kundalini and the Devi, the Bala Tripura Sundari is all you need to understand. You don't need to go even further than that. This was just a casual mention by way of conversation, because I was asking him what after Bala initiation, what happens. There is another mantra, Panchadashi, Shodashi, and so on. So what about those mantras? He said, this is more than enough for you if you wish to. If spirituality is what you seek, Bala is more than enough. And then it struck me that all the time for me, the only vision that I kept getting was the Bala Tripura Sundari. Bala Tripura Sundari. Bala means a young child. And that Devi I saw was a very young child. It was not a grown-up woman. It was a beautiful young child. I can't even get that picture. But I want to show you that if you do want to get an idea of what I'm talking about. This is the picture very close, but a foot is not resting on a pot of rubies, as you can see here. A left foot is down, which is what I wanted to show you. This is how it was, and that left foot is connecting to the Manipuraka below. And the heart chakra becomes her. She becomes the heart chakra. And this is a symbolic, this is of course a picture that I got from the internet today, just to show you how. But this is, when a left foot is down, it is called Bala Tripura Sundari. And of course, for me, the energy that I feel and I get is of a very, very, very young child, maybe 7, 8 years, like that. Very divine. So that happened many years ago. In Varanasi recently, this February, I've not shared this with anyone, but these things are personal experiences. It's just experiences at this point. The joy is there. When I was sitting in Varanasi and enjoying I spent a whole week there. Again, I was fasting throughout, only on fruits. And so, because that was my first visit to Varanasi, I wanted to enjoy and enjoy the vibrations and sit where Tulsidas sat and did Rudram chanting and all of that. Very beautiful things. That's when we got the Hanuman statue. But there's one experience that happened 2 days before I got the Hanuman statue. I was not there looking for Hanuman statue and all of that. That all is a different story. The same experience happened in the heart chakra, and this time there was Hanuman sitting and his tail was touching the Manipuraka. His tail was sitting down, touching the Manipuraka chakra. Of course, he was in meditation and his tail was touching the Manipuraka. So I know that when this chakra opens, it begins to connect the Manipura. In other words, it begins to pull the eye from the Manipuraka into the Anahata. It creates a passage where that sense of confidence, vitality, energy, and all of that could become pride, right? But that merges into this divine Shakti. And you know that the energy comes from the Atmaram. You know the Hanuman energy comes from Hanuman, from Devi, and so on. So for those of us, why I'm saying all of this, why am I even sharing these experiences? Because the heart chakra is about bhakti. And you can take any form of your choice, and you don't have to meditate on that form being here. Just like I said, don't meditate. You don't have to meditate on Murugan with 6 heads and 6 heads being in 6 chakras. The form itself creates that energy. That energy will take care of itself. It will know where to find its way. Like you eat your food, stomach knows how to distribute the energy, right? You don't have to worry about it. It's like that. So when you lose yourself in bhakti, know that this deity begins to create a home for him or her. This God of your choice, name of your choice, form of your choice. If it's a Hanuman, he opens the door and comes. Because it's the same energy who manifests itself in the form of your choice. At that moment, it becomes very, very divine. And more things begin to happen. So I didn't know 2 days later I'm going to bump into that beautiful Hanuman statue which you have seen in our Hanuman Chalisa times in Varanasi, in a shop completely locked in somewhere, completely black because he had not polished it and he didn't know what to do with it. I don't know why he would do that. But it was somewhere in one really small shop in that Vishwanath Gully, which is so crowded. And I stepped in just to stand out of the way from some crowd, and I happened, since I stepped in, I wanted to honor the shopkeeper, and I told my mother-in-law, just a minute, I'm just going to be here for a second. Just looked around like this and saw behind a plank, something made me to pull the plank up. I know it sounds like fairy tale, but this is exactly what happened. I pulled it out and there he was sitting. Not the same thing I got the vision. My vision was different. And here Hanuman is sitting with the Gada here. So the beauty was, when the moment I saw him, I knew that he has to be part of KYG. It just clicked right there, then and there. And so the rest was history. I brought him here. So the heart chakra opens, things begin to manifest in your external world as well. That is the power of these kind of practices. So bhakti is the path, my dear brothers and sisters, for this. They don't get lost in the technicalities, even though we'll cover a few of them here as we go along. Bhakti is the key for this chakra to open. And this chakra, in the opening of this chakra, in other words, your connection with the divine is a must for spiritual progress, I feel. Without that, I would have got blocked. So this happens with the divine grace. So when you go deep into your core, you have to figure out who's that deity whom I can just lose myself without any doubts, any questions, anything. I can just get lost. It could be Shiva, it could be Shakti, it could be Vishnu. It could be any deity. And one of them begins to, because it's the same energy, one of them manifests, then the door opens to create any deity begins to come and give darshan, because the chakra begins to get more and more cleansed. Your devotion becomes unimpeded. The warmth and the radiance and security you begin to feel in that presence is amazing. That is why the laundry list that you may have about what is going to happen to me, why are you testing me, and all of that just falls away. Just disappears. Without any conscious effort, it just disappears. And you feel, what is there to worry? There is nothing to worry in that presence. It's so beautiful. Okay. So, Anahata chakra, let's see. Now here, as I studied later on, after that first initial experience, as I began to understand and study, Appaya taught me that there are 12 petals of the Anahata zodiac signs. And for these 12 petals represent to the 12 zodiac signs, because this is the heart center. The heart represents the sun, because everything revolves around your heart, right? If your brain stops functioning, your heart is still beating, you go into a coma, but you're still alive. There is life there, correct? But if the heart stops beating, everything stops. The brain goes dead, eventually everything stops, correct? So everything revolves around the heart, just like all the planets revolve around the sun. So the rising color, the rising sun, I'll come to that energy. The rising sun is what is this heart chakra represents. Okay? So just as the heart is a center, devotion is a center for all practices. Without devotion, no practice can ever fructify, in my opinion, in my experience. So devotion is a must, and technicalities and all of that really fall in place later, right? So just like everything revolves around devotion, everything revolves around the deity of our choice, the mantra of our choice, the name and form of our choice, whether it is Rama, Krishna, Devi, Shiva, or any of them. Okay. So when that happens, everything revolves around that. It is the same, these 12 petals are the zodiac signs, the Rashis, the 9 grahas, and the 27 nakshatras. All that understanding begins to become clear as this chakra becomes more and more and more cleansed, and your connection to these grahas, your connection to these nakshatras, to the phases of the moon, and your own practice, and everything becomes clear. You'll begin to feel and know the connection. And you'll connect the happenings in your life, the mood swings, the ups and downs, and everything with this universal connection. That is why in our yoga classes, in Shavasana and in everywhere, I keep saying we are not isolated beings. We are connected to each other, and we are connected biomagnetically, if you will. We are connected to the grahas. If Saturn disappears tomorrow from the sky, the earth won't exist. This entire solar system will collapse. So every planet, every graha plays an important role in life in this planet and in us. And therefore, since they play a role in our life, they also play a role in our psychic energies, pranic energies, thoughts, emotions, behavior patterns, and so on and so forth. So someday when we study basic Vedic astrology is all you need to understand this chakra more. So it doesn't mean, oh, I'm not going to study, I'm going to go into devotion. That's fine too, but try everything, because ultimately when you're studying this, when you're opening a heart of devotion, everything will merge. Everything will merge. I think incurring grace, the teacher gets happy when he or she sees the student really working hard and yearning and desperately and putting all efforts of all kinds to understand what the teacher is teaching. Then the teacher is pleased, right? It's something like that, I would think. So there is a reason why the grahas are there. There is a reason why these rashis, and this is part of the Vedas. Jyotisha Veda. Jyotisha is which brings light to your life. Without that understanding, we are in the dark. So it brings light to our life. We'll know exactly, oh, this is why I am here. This is how I can do this. I can draw energy from this. I can draw strength from here, and so on. So this understanding will come by itself. We will take it up for study, but right now we are just understanding what all this is, right? So the more I began to study astrology much later after I came out of Puttaparthi, because I was of that same opinion, in spite of my teacher that time, Appaya, telling me, because Baba gave me this 9-stone ring and materialized, he said, Baba has given it to you this, now it's time for you to study Vedic astrology. And I would say, nah, he's there, I don't need any of this. I just kept on refuting it till the time came when it is meant to happen. And the moment I began to study, doors just opened so beautifully, so fast, and so furiously. It's a whole different story. So my convictions and my experiences become even more stronger when I begin to understand these. Then you begin to understand that the Hanuman energy here, because it is Vayu, this just like this was fire, this is connected to the air element, the wind element. So the Hanuman energy, or the Devi, who is the source of all energies, when they begin to manifest that energy here, in other words, when you begin to allow that manifestation to happen, they are omnipresent, right? We have to tune in and begin to figure that manifestation happening. It's like you tune into the radio station and suddenly you hear the radio waves. When you tune into the right frequencies, radio waves are everywhere. Similarly, all these energies are there, but once we begin to tune in, that particular frequency begins to manifest. Right? Then you will know exactly how to tune in where. Such is that magic that happens with the heart chakra. The 12 petals begins to make that an understanding of the rashis, the deities, the devatas behind them, worshipping them, all of that helps in the manifestation of this deity. Makes it more easy. Why do I say that? Because Hanuman was not my deity of choice. I've never sat and meditated on Hanuman. How did he give me darshan from within? How did he manifest? Because I know by then I had studied more than 15 years, I would think, of astrology into it. I've done the Navagraha Pujas, I've tuned into all of them. So for me, I believe that when the time comes that all of these grahas get together and all of that energies come and begin to manifest to you and give you an indication that maybe it was an indication that Hanuman said, I'm going to come to KYG, because for a longest time, Maya and I were thinking of getting a Hanuman statue, if you will. But it has to be seated. I said, my yoga studio, I want him seated, not standing. Being a symbol of meditation that he was. And one-pointedness that he was. So anyway, maybe it was a manifestation saying, I am coming. And I couldn't relate that. But that darshan happened because I owe it to this understanding of Vedic astrology. So it's not just that intellectual study that you're going to do, but you're going to tune in to the energies that actually support all these grahas. And you'll open your mind. So wonderful. You'll see the oneness of Shiva and Vishnu and Shakti and all these energies that are empowering in different frequencies of consciousness that manifest as these grahas and ultimately this. So when you look back all of this from an Advaitic point of view, all of this is that fabrication of Shaktis. Time and space and causation is all fabrication. But in that fabrication lies beauty. So understand it's Maya and enjoy that as well. So the enjoyment is not just restricted to senses. That is the simplest and the lowest of all enjoyments. I'm talking of enjoying with these deities. More, that's also part of the illusion, right? But that fabrication is far more superior, far more enjoyable, and then you get guided. The more petals open and you get guided, go beyond that also. So everything has the level of realities and dimensions that open up in the spiritual path are very fascinating. Each one is better than the other. So the 12 petals, 27 nakshatras. So if you see 12 plus 9 and 27 makes it 48. Again, that becomes a mandala. So this 12 petals can be understood as 4 layers, going to the complete opening of the chakra, I would think. But I'm happy with darshans of deities and relationships with them. So these are the levels of petals in the Anahata. Like I said, I'm just rushing through all of these. We will explore this more sometime later. The color is now, if you see from the darkest part of the night, pre-dawn to dawn. From dawn, just before sunrise, you begin to see the landscape and the greenery. Like the peacock and Murugan comes because now you're identifying me as separate from the tree, and the identity comes, the eye goes, and then you begin to see the sun rising. What a beautiful sight, right? I would go to the early morning hills where the Hanuman statue is now in Puttaparthi, for those of you who know that place, and sit there, face east, practice asanas, and then wait for the sun to rise. It's such an amazing thing to watch the sunrise. It wouldn't be as red because very often it'll be behind the mountain, so it'll be already golden. But still, it was a beautiful sight. But now in Cleveland, Ohio, we get a chance to see the morning sun if we drive east at the right time. And the red sun, the first sight of the red sun, is the energy of this chakra. I just use the word color because we understand energy and color, but it's more about energy. Like I always say, Baba said there's no colors in all these chakras. It is the energy that you have to focus on. And Baba said all of this in 2 minutes. He explained this whole thing in that interview. But it opened up such a big... I understood that is the time we need to meditate. That is the time we need to practice, because that is when nature's kundalini is awakening. And so you can tune into that and cause this awakening. And it became very easy after that. So the red color, Sindura. Sinduraruna Vigraham. That's why Devi is called Sinduraruna Vigraham. The beauty of the manifestation is in the color of the Sindur. Sindur is the color of the sun. Crimson, I think, is a color you can relate to when I talk about the red sun. But look, go and watch a sunrise and see the color of the sun. So that is the energy of this chakra. What is the main obstacle? Lack of confidence was the obstacle in Manipuraka, right? What is the obstacle in this chakra? The obstacle is duality. The separation principle becomes the obstacle. One has to, that is why I said in our path of devotion, you have to stop taking the laundry list of I, me and mine. Why am I doing this? Why am I not experiencing this? How long more I should do this sadhana? Why am I not experiencing after 5 years of practice? All of this has to be forgotten. The I itself has to be dropped. Enjoy the company of the divine. And if I am locked in this dimension, and I say this mindfully, if I am locked in the dimension where I have to just meditate on this form and chant the name for the next 5,000 lifetimes, I will do so gleefully, happily. Because that in itself is the most wonderful opportunity. Like I say, imagine there are souls caught where the Muladhara is so tight and the consciousness is so trapped that these souls cannot even think of anything other than when is the next meal coming, when do I sleep, where do I sleep, and so on. For them, all of this is just bizarre. It's completely out of their consciousness. From there, we have come across many lifetimes And we are in a position here, sitting in the praise and invoking this divine. So if another 5,000 lifetimes I have to do this, I will. I have mentioned this to Baba himself. In Kodaikanal, he said, who all wants moksha? And today is Ramanavami. I stood back. I didn't take namaskar. He said, you don't want moksha? I said, no. He said, why? I said, I want to be in your work for many more lifetimes. And then the clock struck. He smiled. He said, that's my answer. Adena answer, he said. Smiled. I don't know what it meant, but I think it meant good. Because the bell sounds came. Anyway, the point here is, I'm happy. So the point is not about I and me at all. It's just the joy of being in the company of the divine. That's what it is. So when that happens, the duality disappears. Who am I? I'm not even worried about me. It is just the he that exists, or she that exists, depending on your deity. And then all of that he, she, and all merges into that beautiful God principle, right? So our obstacle is duality. We think it is bhakti when we think more about me. मैं क्या करूँ? मैं बिखी आ रही हूँ, मैं दुखी आ रही हूँ, दुखी आ रही हूँ, I have come to your door, and all of that. When we think about all those bhavas, we are more indulging in ourselves. This is why I keep telling, Arjuna talked about how confused he was, how his ideas of right and wrong was, how he doesn't want to fight the war, all of that in the first chapter of the Gita. Krishna just stands quiet. Krishna is not existing at that point. He could have stopped him, right? He cannot. Krishna cannot stop because Arjuna is too full of himself. Oh, why am I so confused? And ultimately he says, I completely surrender. I don't know what is good and right. You tell me what to do. I surrender. When that surrender comes, Krishna begins to talk. Right? I think it was in the 11th sloka or so of the second chapter, he begins to talk. It's very symbolic to understand that. So the obstacle in this chakra that prevents this chakra from opening, when I talked earlier, the cleansing doesn't happen because of duality. Because of our obsession with I and mine. I want to progress, I want to be God realized, or I want to do this, I want to do that. Drop it. When this chakra begins to open, allow the deity to manifest. Allow her, I keep saying her because for me it's Devi, allow Devi to run the course through you. Allow the Sai to run the course through you. Allow Hanuman's energy to run the course through you. It needs, at this point, when this chakra begins to open up, all that other lower things about fear, lack of confidence, lack of the caught habits, likes and dislikes, and all of that, lack of clarity, all of that begins to disappear because now the deity takes over. God takes over your life. You begin to experience that. He is taking over your life. He begins to run your life. And a sense of deep peace and surrender begins to descend upon you. This cannot be consciously practiced. Vairagya, therefore, I say, is not consciously practiced, maybe to some extent, but Vairagya is gifted to us. Because when you begin to understand this company, you begin to enjoy this company more than anything else. And so you lose interest in all the other things. So duality is an obstacle. Think about that. That's why non-duality. This is where the non-duality version begins to open. He becomes more important than the I. The I begins to merge into the He, into the Shiva consciousness, ultimately. Time to contemplate is, of course, at sunrise, ideally, because now you're continuing that practice, right? And asana and mudra practice. I think we're running out of time, but like I said, I'm just going to throw these open for you. Asanas and mudra practice, these are all seated postures. Because of the heart opening, there is an element of seatedness here. So, seated postures, seated spinal twists, Paschimottanasana, Padmasana, Baddha Konasana, and all of these asanas, anything seated helps, Vajrasana and so on. And then you do Sarvangasana and Halasana, because the connection of the Manipuraka, you begin to see the Manipuraka in Sarvangasana. When you lift your body up, I'm not saying you just do it right away. I'm just saying for those of us who practice asanas, who are ready to do these things. When you lift your body up, your eyes get to see the Manipuraka, the navel. Okay, and you feel that connection, and you pull that stomach in and you start breathing through the chest, you'll feel the connection between the Mooladhara, Manipuraka, and the Anahata. Another beautiful one is the mudra. It is called the Viparita Karani mudra. It is a half shoulder stand. Far more powerful, far more useful, far more beneficial, and perhaps a little more easier than Sarvangasana. I will introduce Viparita Karani mudra shortly in the beginner's class in an easy way to practice it with a bolster, how to practice Viparita Karani. So just bear with me on that. It's a very, very powerful exercise, very beautiful exercise. Even on a physical level, it brings down blood pressure, hypertension, and all of that. Anytime you're confused and upset and tired, Viparita Karani is a beautiful way to calm down. It gently brings a blood flow back into your face, into your brain, and so on. So the benefits are amazing. But these practices begin to help maintain the cleanliness and continue to keep this chakra vibrant and active. Okay? The pranayama practice here is Surya Bheda Pranayama. I have put number 2 there. What does that mean? In the Surya Bheda Pranayama in Mooladhara, if you remember the first class, I said you breathe in through both the nostrils, you breathe out through the right nostril. Breathe in through both nostrils, breathe out through the right nostril. That was for Mooladhara. Now the Surya Bheda Pranayama, the way it should be done for this is you breathe in from the right and breathe out from the left. Again, breathe in from the right, right in, left out, right in, left out, right in, left out. So you go like this, and I'm going to show you to the left hand just so for clarity. Inhale, exhale through the left. Again, inhale through the right, exhale through the left. Inhale through the right, exhale through the left. And this will activate the sun energy in the body. This will activate the sun energy in the body because this is ruled by the planet sun, this chakra, the rising sun, the beautiful rising sun, very gently. This is where the Devi begins. For me, since she gave me darshan as this little girl, the very first time, because in Lalita Sahasranama you don't learn about Bala Tripura Sundari and all. You're thinking of the divine goddess and all pictures. The picture that I had was divine goddess, fully fledged, like that picture I showed you. Something similar to that, I forget. And I even have an idol. It's not in KYG, it's with my sister, a stone idol, which is proper Lalita. But for her to come as a divine child was a greatest revelation for me. So that is the divine child. Imagine a small child and the supreme energy of Devi coming as a small child. It's like the sun, supreme sun's energy. You can't even look at the sun. But then when he rises, you can see. And he's beautiful, right? It's like that. That is the energy of this chakra. This chakra brings that deity to you in a very beautiful, beautiful form. Surya Bheda Pranayama, you have to when you do the Surya Bheda, you have to meditate mentally on the rising sun, not on the bright sun, on the rising sun, on the red sun. So we will revisit this pranayama and learn a little more in detail. What should be the mental attitude? Then comes your meditation practice. In my case, I meditated on Bala Tripura Sundari, and now I continue that practice. But then you can choose the deity of your choice here. Choose the deity of your choice. And you have to figure that out. Who has been with you, what energy has been with you from childhood. And it doesn't matter. You can start with any form, any name, any symbol for that matter. For me, I deal more with the human form aspect of rather than symbols. If you ask me about the Om meditation here, it doesn't make sense to me. It is about Devi or Hanuman or Ram. I like to take a form and go into that practice for weeks and months together till that form begins to get activated, and then I begin to enjoy that company. It's like that. So for me, the fallback is always Bala Tripura Sundari, the divine child, the Devi principle. Okay? Then comes the japa. Now you are mentally repeating the japa along with visualization. You're mentally repeating it. So in Manipuraka Chakra, you are thinking about it. There's a difference. Again, we will talk about this in the japa practice. There's a difference between thinking of a mantra and mentally repeating. Now you're coming to mentally repeating it, like you're creating a sound pattern. Right? Thinking is about the meaning of the mantra and all that. Before that, there is feeling and so on, right? We discuss in each chakra. So slowly that sound is manifesting from underneath, from deep within. Okay? So here you mentally repeat the mantra of your choice. If it's Hanuman deity you're meditating, use a Hanuman mantra. If it is Bala Tripura Sundari, use the Bala mantra of Aim Kleem Sauhu, Sauhu Kleem Aim. If it is Shiva, Om Namah Shivaya. Simple. But then mentally begin to repeat along with the visualization of the deity. So meditation and japa go hand in hand here. For that is a conversation you got to have. Because if you start conversing in regular language and think that is bhakti, that regular language, the I will creep in and all your problems will creep in. Because we use that same regular language with whom? With our wives, with our children, with our husbands and with our friends and so on and so forth. Right? That same regular language you can, of course, it opens the door, but then slowly get into a japa meditation. Give respect to that deity in front. Don't start talking to that deity in the same language you talk with your friends. For me, it's like that. I give them complete respect, because then that deity begins to manifest with that same grandeur and glory that I wish for that deity to manifest. If I can never understand when people say, "Arey, Bhagwan kya? He doesn't want all that. Just do anything. He's okay with him." For me, it's like it doesn't work like that. For me, even because as Swami, we used to give, and I would say Swami, I mean my Sadguru Bhagwan Sri Baba, we used to give him so much respect that there was no way we could ever treat him, "Oh, he is there, it's okay, we'll look at him later." It never worked like that. So for me, the idea of Godhead, divinity, can never be taken lightly. You do your very best, and beyond a point, if you can't do, you say, "All right, you know what, this is the best I can do. Beyond this, I don't know what else." But out of laziness, I can't say, "Arey, Bhagwan doesn't want all that. Just do something. He's okay. He will understand." That is our way of saying, "I don't have time for all that. If you want to do, you do," kind of a thing. That doesn't work. At least it not work for me in the path of Kundalini, in the path of meditation. And if you want the deity to manifest, give that respect. So, what does that mean? Converse with the deity through the mantra. And in proper mantras, there is no I and me at all. Om Namah Shivaya. Namah. There is no ma. Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Shivaya. Shivaya Namo Om. Shivaya Namo. So Shiva becomes very important. That is your conversation. Your conversation means what? You're leaning. Your leaning means, what I mean was lean ho jate hain. Like you merge into that. Merge into that. I hope I make sense. Okay, we are done. I drew a line just to make sure I understand where we were. So, my dear sisters and brothers, that was a bird's eye view, if you will, a rush through about this beautiful temple that exists in the universe, and the door to that temple exists in your heart. You open that door, and this path to this beautiful temple, in the sanctum sanctorum of which resides the deity of your choice. So you have the right, you have the power, you have the time, you have the energy, you have everything in your disposal to do this practice, to awaken this deity and allow this God principle from within to begin. Once that manifestation begins to happen, you will know in your heart for clear. Everything becomes clear. You become very secure. You become very peaceful, very calm. That is the sense of security that we are seeking in the Mooladhara, that is finally granted to us here. So you have to let go of that and dive into this. It's like letting go of those little swimming aids that you have and diving into the pool, knowing that I have learned and practiced enough, now dive into the pool. Then you'll begin to understand that true security comes not because of these aids like money and wealth and name and fame and social status, and all that doesn't give us security, relationships and so on. The true security comes when you begin to swim freely in the pool without any of these floats and all these aids that you use for swimming to keep yourself floating, right? All of that will fall off because you have confidence in your practice, and then you begin to swim. In other words, when this deity of yours, a pratyaksha rupa happens. Pratyaksha is not a fantasy concept. Pratyaksha is where the deity manifests himself or herself to you. When that manifestation begins to happen, you'll know the company. You are in the company of the divine. And that joy is amazing. Apart from the joy, the sense of security that comes, a sense of peace that comes. That is what I believe Hanuman had when he took that leap, knowing Rama has asked me to do. Who am I? Rama is doing it through me. So he took the leap, true leap of faith across the ocean. That is what happens. Then Rama does the job through Hanuman, right? Hanuman never takes credit for anything. Never. Because he knows it is not out of some superimposed humility thing. It is the truth. When the little I is working, the efforts are minimal, the results are also minimal. Even if you have $100 million in your bank, it is still very minimal compared to the riches that the universe has and the riches that your consciousness can expose itself to. So, meditate on these thoughts, contemplate on these thoughts, on these holy nights of Navaratri. As always, I'm grateful that I'm being permitted by the divine to even offer this. Otherwise, I will be at a loss of words, and this won't happen. I feel in my heart the energy is right, the time is right, and so I hope you do too, and I hope these classes have been helpful, at least to some extent, points the way, gives you a perspective of another spiritual aspirant on this path. So let us end this class, as always, with 1 Om and 3 Shantis. Thank you all for being part of this session. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti